Welcome, another episode. I think this is kind of a special episode. It's pretty close to the 15th anniversary of selling Beckett publications. So I'm going to give you a little sports card insight of what was going on before the sale. I'll do another episode. The next episode will be after some reflective comments. It was January 25th or 26th. It depends on when I signed the papers and when I got the money, I think, for selling Beckett publications to a group out of New York. But I'm going to spend a little time today talking about what was going on before that time. But first, thanks to our sponsors, Beckett Media, the successor company, but including Beckett Grading, which we had started under my regime, ComC, which wasn't around at that time, but was something we actually thought about doing. Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins and Scott Auctions, Topps, Panini, and Upper Deck. So I had told people before 2005, this was January 25th or 26th, 2005, I'd been telling people before that I'd never sell. I had a company that had my name on it. How would I even do that? But I loved what I was doing. I couldn't even imagine. It was hard for me even to delegate. I really, really enjoyed what I was doing. I loved the people I was working with. I loved the industry, and I'm in a group of an organization that convenes forums of members who are in similar situations, other presidents or owners or CEOs of companies, and so we'd get together for a day a month. And I would just overly proudly, I guess, say, I would never sell. They said, well, you're going to sell one of these days, or if you don't, it's because your business went under or you died. Now, all this is before my heart attack. But I never really thought, what would I do next? What would I rather do? There's nothing I would rather do. I really enjoyed what I was doing, who I was doing it with. But my heart attack really was a game changer. And that was in late 96. And I think that's the first time I really thought, maybe I will sell this company and find another owner, perhaps, or another president, another CEO, somebody that would run it. I wasn't out of gas, but it takes a lot of wind out of your sails when you drop dead of a heart attack and you realize you have mortality. And I care about the industry, I care about the people. And I thought, maybe there'll come a time that I'll have to pick somebody else to run it or somebody else to own it. And so I began thinking about it. That was in 96. Of course, I didn't sell until 2005. But after 96, I loved pricing the cards and really being involved, going to the shows and seeing what was going on. But more and more from 96 up through 05, I was more of a CEO, more of a, kind of getting reports from people and not very involved in the day-to-day stuff. And so the only problems you get when you're the CEO are the big problems. So it wasn't as much fun. And so I started thinking, well, maybe I will. And I had met a guy in New York that was a really good guy that was a kind of a magazine company broker guy that I'd met. And I thought, well, I'll talk to him and I'll talk to a couple of his competitors about what a sales process might look like. And so that, first of all, was just me. And then eventually I had to bring in my leadership team. And that was pretty amazing. The aspect of trusting my team and the inner circle that we needed to check this out confidentially. I don't know that I was hell-bent on selling, but I just thought, I think it's time to go down the process and see. And the business brokers are always very optimistic. They don't want to let you get away. They're paid partly on the success of the transaction. So, but the leadership team was terrific. But we, as a company here, we're headquartered in Dallas, Texas, at exactly the headquarters of major publishing companies. Most of the publishing companies were out of New York, and they just thought we were in the Southwest, and it's just kind of a fluky kind of magazine and book company that they didn't really understand. We were doing grading at that point, but we weren't as ad driven as many publications. We had non-traditional distribution through the hobby shops, and so it became clear that as I was meeting with these, we had interest from a whole bunch of companies, one of which was Krause's parent at that time, which I thought would have been a little bit awkward, but they were aware at least on some level, that we were considering being sold. But most of the companies really didn't understand collectibles and the passionate enthusiast category. We narrowed it down to 3 different groups that had expressed interest at a price that our broker said was worth pursuing. And I wondered, I just thought, maybe I should really look at these offers and the people behind the offers, because I'd really like my employees and teammates to go. I mean, it's almost like I was thinking, I'd like to sell to the nicest bidder. Now, the good thing is that all 3 of the groups were really pretty nice. They weren't bad. But they're capitalists. They're people that were going to pay money and expect to earn out and have a profitable company going forward. And so I actually had 3 different groups that we came down to final presentations, and one of them I really had a good rapport with one, but they were like the second high bidder. And the first high bidder, which we actually wound up choosing, I didn't love him, I didn't hate him. Like I said, I had better rapport. But the wild card was they had already identified, the group that wound up winning, they'd already identified a CEO that was going to come in, and it would have been daunting to me, except that I actually was, the CEO that they were going to bring in was a friend of a friend. It's somebody that I didn't know personally, but I knew one of his close friends very well, and trusted him. And he said, this guy is really solid. If he comes in, he'll treat your people right. It would be a good deal, because all these groups were talking about coming in and making changes. And I had some trepidation about that, but if you pay your money, then you get to make the changes. At any rate, so we're clicking along here in trying to close by the end of the year. So it's November, December of 2004, and obviously things keep getting pushed back because they just do. And I had a very close friend that was, I mainly do business with my friends. I'm a friendly guy, but I don't give up on the quality. Their high quality attorney that I had was also a close and trusted friend, but very, very savvy. And he basically said, look, here's how it's going to go. You like this guy that's made the highest offer, and he has spent time with you, and you're enjoying and looking forward to that. And you see the CEO, the guy they're going to bring in, and you think he is pretty solid. But I just need to tell you, and he wasn't being prophetic, but he just said, there's pretty soon there's going to be a good cop, bad cop situation. And when there is, there's going to be a bad cop that emerges on the other side, and they're going to try to lower the price, because that's what always happens. And I said, well, no, that may normally happen, but it won't happen to me, because our company is special, and I've got a good rapport with this good guy who now becomes the good cop. And the bad cop all of a sudden starts asserting. And so my close attorney friend, who's done a lot of transactions, said, there's going to come a time when you're going to have to walk away and say, if that's what you want to do, then I'm not your guy, and you need to look for another company to buy. And so we got to a point there close to the end, kind of 11th hour, and they were asking for an additional concession that I thought was unreasonable. And then the bad cop said something that kind of upset me, because it was attacking the integrity of me and our team. And so my attorney said, you're going to need to walk away. They'll probably pursue you, but you've got to do that bluff. And so, this guy said something. It was over the phone. It was a big conference call, and he said something, and I didn't go off. I'm not a really hot tempered guy, but I have my standards. I said, if that's what you think, I don't think you're the group that I want to sell to. So I appreciate all your due diligence, and I know we're close to the end, but if that's the way you're going to treat our employees, and that's what you think, then, so long. So we hung up the phone, and Pete, my attorney, says, that was terrific. He said, I always thought you were not a very good poker player, because you kind of say what you mean, and you're not very indirect sometimes. He said, you really pulled off that bluff. I said, Pete, that wasn't a bluff. I said, if that's really what they think, I have mixed feelings about selling the company anyway. 3 days later, they call me. They apologize. The good cop says, hey, the bad cop was out of line. We're reinstating these provisions that were the concerns that you had, and we are very excited about buying your company and hope you'll forgive us. And I said, well, again, I don't know how this is going to go. I'd never sold a company like this before. It's a company that had my name on it, with all these employees that I really cared about. And I didn't know what the future was going to look like. So I was both excited and not afraid, but just wondering what was going to happen. I did something really smart at that right around that point in time. So the acquirer, the lead guy said, listen, there's some others, we're buying the business, we're buying your name, and but we're not buying all the, it's an asset purchase. And are there any assets that you would like to have excluded? And I said, well, we've got the card collection that we have here was basically seeded by the cards I had when I was a kid and the cards I had when I was a dealer. Before I started the company, I was buying and selling cards. I had part interest in a store. So there's a bunch of cards there, and they've since been commingled with some of the cards that we have as a company. But I'd like to keep my cards because I'm a card collector. I'm a card guy. And he said, no problem. He said, they're not intended to be sold by us. If you're the one that knows what they're worth. We just want to run these magazines and books and the grading and that's what we're concerned about. I said, by the way, I also have an interest in the art collection that we have, which, again, there were some Roberto Clemente things. I said, I don't know that I want all the art, but I want the art that's meaningful to me. And again, it was just the stuff that was hanging up. So it wasn't, and they said, well, sure. Okay. I said, I need a little furniture. So I carved out, enough to have kind of an office suite. I got my board table and chairs and some of the other things that have since populated my offices. So that 11th hour negotiation or concession turned out to be really, really good because I'm now the office situation with having the furniture that was, they got most of it. And the art collection, I've gotten a lot of compliments for the art that I can hang more prominently when I've had a smaller office, and the card collection has given me some enjoyment. Again, many of the cards were mine, but the cards that were the companies, it just would have taken too long to split them out. So, and I'll be back tomorrow, or I think it might be Monday. I'll be back with an episode about what happened after the sale, because before the sale, again, I had some trepidation, but in hindsight, it worked out well. I couldn't have scripted it, but again, hats off to my employees, especially my leadership team. They kept it under wraps until we announced the sale, which would have just been chaos if it would have been generally known that we were for sale, and our competitors, such that we would have had a field day. So again, it's like I say, it was a bittersweet day, January 25th and 26th of 2005. And even though that's 15 years ago now, it's still, some of that is fresh and, like I say, bittersweet. So, thanks again. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for hobbyists, listeners, and collectors like you. So again, thanks for that walk down memory lane. Be back tomorrow or whatever it is the next day with After the Sale.